Everyone will head to their seats. We will get started with this special called meeting of the Local Government Committee. We only have one bill on the agenda today, Senate Bill 239. Senator Wilson, if you and your guest would come to the table, acknowledge yourselves for the record, please, and then you may proceed. Oh, we do need to call the roll. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Bentley, Representative Brown, Representative Donahue, Representative Elkins,
Here.
Representative Frazier, Representative Gravis, Representative Howard, Representative Huff, Representative King,
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Koenig, Representative Lee, Representative Meyer, Representative Miller, Representative Reed, Representative Rothenberger, Representative Sims, Representative Tackett Lafferty, Representative Meredith.
Yes, ma'am, and I did get the cart before the horse there a little bit. This time, you all go ahead with your presentation.
All right, well, I am Senator Wilson from District 32, which is Warren County. And I have my guest here, who is probably many of you know, with League of Cities, Brianna Carroll. Actually, Senate Bill 239, I will explain my bill, and I know there's a committee sub to it, and she will explain the sub, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion and a second on the sub. All in favor of the committee substitute, please say aye. Any opposed? I have a motion on the bill as amended by committee substitute 1. Do I hear a second? Second, Representative Bentley. Do I have any questions from members of the committee? Representative Gravis. We've got a motion, Representative Graves, we do have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. No, we voted on the sub is before us, and we've had a motion on the bill as amended by the sub. Go ahead,
sir.
Representative Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was very, very fast. Thank you for your all's work on this. How many people does this affect?
Are you talking about the portion of the 239 for the legacy retirement systems?
Yes, sir.
Okay, these all existed before 1988, when afterwards the city employees, fire departments, and your police joined CERS system. And we continually have less and less of them as they are passing away.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having trouble getting enough people to serve in positions like the board to oversee it, as well as being able to offer them these annuities. You know, as this is voluntary, it's not mandatory for them. So that's the issue that our cities are facing, as well as some of our counties. So that is really the issue. Some of them you have less than 12. I believe Brianna could answer some questions on, some of them are down to like 6. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? So it's very limited, the number of people that it does impact.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A follow-up, please.
Go right ahead,
I
Representative.
understand that about the board makeup, but what about the actual number of retirees that could request their pension fund be morphed into an annuity?
There are 18 legacy pension plans remaining. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 of them have 10 or fewer members. Many of them are in the 20s with what remains, and so this doesn't impact a large pool of individuals.
So we're talking about less than 30 people, probably.
Louisville has an old legacy pension plan that has about 200 people left. So otherwise, Ashland has 37, Frankfurt has an old pension plan at 10, there were 10, and this was also from a year ago, and so I'm not sure if that number is still accurate. And for regards to Bowling Green, who requested this legislation as an option, they have 29, 2 of them from the fire or the police side, 10 of them from the fire side, and then 17 are spouses. Out of those individuals, the youngest person is in their late 60s.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Another follow-up, if it's okay.
Go right ahead.
Is this going to be cheaper for our governments to pay out I guess it's going to be a present value of what they would be owed to buy the annuity for the insurance? And is it the locals that are buying the annuity? And are they going to be able to save money by doing this at one time?
Representative Gravis, I think that's something they will evaluate individually with each pension system and make those decisions at the city level to make it's not mandatory. It's something that's offering them a tool.
And what is required is that the same benefits that they're offered and they're receiving now have to be part of that annuity. With an annuity, they're having real issues with board makeup because it requires an individual still within that system. And so like on their police side, they only have 2 individuals remaining. And so with the annuity, you're removing that requirement to have a board meeting. You are saving on the actuarial costs of that, but it's for practical purposes of the remaining individuals.
Thank you. Final question. So thank you for the additional toolbox tool. So then if I was a retiree in this system and I requested to be transferred over to an annuity, no matter where in the world I lived, I could request that. And that request would be legal to be denied.
The city offers the individual that option, and then the individual would have to request or would have to accept it. It's their option, but the city makes that election to provide the option.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions from members of the committee? Representative Tackett Lafferty?
My first question, does this apply to, is this applicable to people already in the system and people coming into the system as well?
These are programs that have closed as of 1988.
Okay.
So they are what we call legacy plans.
Okay, so there will be no one else coming into
No,
the
ma'am.
program? This is just concerning the people who are there at this time?
Yes.
Okay, and are you able to calculate and measure the amounts owed to them in these plans?
Yes.
Okay, and is there an economic impact of what you're doing here?
That will be evaluated by each system in particular. The CERS now, as you know, is one system. These are all different individual systems, and they will have to evaluate those at the individual level.
That's part of that option that if, depending on the number of employees that are remaining or retirees, beneficiaries, they would have that option to decide if that's best because the city is having to pay for the annuity and the individual would then decide if this is better. A lot of times when they're older, that guaranteed amount or they could sell the annuity to have the lump sum. So it's typically what you would find an older individual would want to do as well.
So with the fiscal impact of 239 says that it's indeterminable.
Right.
That's why, because they would have to do it system by system, is that what you're?
Right, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Other questions from members of the committee? Representative Miller, I think you've got one.
Yeah. Just so sure, and for everybody here, this is just giving the option to the local government to go out and get a bid to see if an insurance company will sell an annuity for all these people so we can shut down the plan. The beneficiaries are not going to be fiscally impacted
That's correct.
and all their rights are protected.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Other questions? We do have a motion on House Bill 239 as amended by Committee Substitute 1. Got a second? Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Representative Bentley? Representative Elkins?
Yes.
Representative Frazier? Representative Gravis? Representative Howard?
Yes.
Representative King?
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Koenig?
Yes.
Representative Lee? Representative Meyer? Representative Miller?
Yes.
Representative Reed? Representative Rothenberger? Representative Sims? Representative Tackett Lafferty? Representative Meredith?
Yes, ma'am. Senate Bill 239, as amended by the Committee Substitute 1, does pass with favorable expression. Same shit on the House floor. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
Seeing no other business before the Local Government Committee, we'll call this meeting adjourned.